Hey, how's it going? How's everybody doing? This is just going to be kind of a bit of a rant about something that kind of came to my attention a little while ago concerning, well, kids now, essentially. Now, I'm not a kid. I'm not a kid. I'm kind of a big kid. Got a wall full of toys. But no, I don't have children. I'm not a child psychologist or psychiatrist for that matter. I don't claim to be. I don't pretend to be. But I do have eyes. I did have a childhood at one point. My first childhood. I'm going through my second one now, it seems. But it's just something that was said to me. Started off something that my nephews had said to me about a month ago, a little more than a month ago. I was over there. It's sort of been on my mind. I want to do a video about it before, and I just, I'm very, very good at procrastinating. That's uh, that's one skill I still really have down pat. But so what it was, I went to visit them, and I noticed they had no toys lying around like they used to have. And I said, "Oh, where are all your toys?" And my nephew said to me, he goes, "Well, we don't play with toys anymore. We all just have tablets." And right there, it's just like what? Like, and now I'm not stupid. I know what a tablet is. I have a tablet. I have multiple computers in this house, in one form or another. I mean, I carry one in my pocket all the time. We all do, but we call it a phone. But anyway, it dawned on me. It's like these are your development years. Um, Playing with toys and interacting with other children, not online, but in person, that's where you get your development skills. That's where you get your creativity. That's where you learn things. That's how you build things. That's how you come up with ideas. That's why they're called like the development years. When you're a child, that's where your personality comes from. That's where like just the workings of your mind. That's where all that comes from. Now, like I said, I'm not pretending to know more than I do, but I have done reading on it. I've read like I'm not gonna say I've read a whole book on it, but I have read like articles on it and all different things like that. But these are the definitive years of what is going to make you who you are later in life. Yes, you're going to get influences later in your teen years and all that. It's understandable, and a lot of it is already ingrained in you at birth. It's just nature versus nurture kind of thing. But these are those years, and I'm seeing so many kids now not outside, not doing things. Like when we were kids, we didn't have this technology. Now, I'm not saying that if the technology was available then, we wouldn't be using it now the same way the kids now are using it. But I mean, I'm glad we didn't, just for those reasons. And it also comes down to, now I'm not talking about my brother and his wife. They're wonderful people, great parents and everything else, but just in general, so many parents are just relying on handing a kid a tablet and say, "Hey, go to town, do what you want with that, just shut up and leave me alone" kind of mentality. That's what I'm seeing. I'm not seeing kids in the street playing hockey like they used to, or in the parks. Like when I was a kid, like I can look out the window now, there's a few kids in the park, a few kids running around. Now I know there are a lot of assholes out there, and things have gotten worse than they have been in the past, so it seems. And yeah, there are assholes out there that will snatch your kids, of course. But you can still have them outside and supervise them, have them there, have one parent supervising like a bunch of the kids playing together. I mean, it was different when I was a kid. We used to sneak off to the forest. We used to get into all kinds of shit. Like we broke there was I remember being a kid, we broke into the nut house. There was a around where we lived, there was an abandoned insane asylum. It's actually a university now, and it was a movie set back in the 80s. Like, but before it became a movie set, I remember we broke in there, snuck in through a window, and we saw this like cells and all this crazy stuff. We used to take our bikes, our BMXs, and go hit the trails. This is at like 8, 9, 10 years old. Now these kids are just sitting in there, and you take that tablet away from the kids. Just they have a fit, they have a temper tantrum, and now you can't punish your fucking kids anymore. What do? You say, "Well, you're not going to get this back. You're going to go to timeout." When I was a kid, the threat was, "If you don't stop what you're doing, I'm going to pull your pants down and spank your bare ass here in front of everyone." And you know what the other people did? The other parents did. They weren't like, no, don't say that to your children. You can't hurt your children. Back then, the parents were like, now most parents never would actually. You might get a little on the ass, which is well deserved. I think spanking like that has to come back. Kid does something wrong. There you go. One on the ass, go to your room. Like you're not actually physically hurting your kids. I got spanked, and it only took me getting spanked, I think, my entire life as a child. I think my dad spanked me twice. And I know the first time he did it, he didn't tell me. My mom told me later, like years later, that he actually felt really bad about it, spanking his son till he cried. And it wasn't even like he was beating the hell out of me. He just put me over his knee, pulled my pants down, and gave me like, and that was it. Go in your bed. Of course it hurt. Like, it's supposed to hurt. That's the point of it. But, it's not like he closed his fist and cracked me one across the jaw or something. There is a difference. He would never use a belt on me or anything. My dad didn't need a weapon. He was the weapon, right? I don't understand these parents and these kids I talk to, though, that do brag about, oh, I got the belt. Like, I didn't. I got a slap on the ass or maybe a light one on the mouth, and that's all I needed. My dad was the weapon. He didn't bring a weapon into it. Same with my mom. My mom didn't dish out the spankings, but she did give me a couple swats here and there, and she didn't use a weapon. But anyway, I think we got to bring that back. Kids didn't just rise up and just say, we're going to rebel against our parents. Kids have always been rebelling against their parents. It's just how parents dealt with it that's different than now. And now kids, they just sort of get in their own way. And when it comes later in life, because they didn't use those development skills as a child, they're just going to grow up in life not really having a clue how to interact with each other, how to do stuff. They're going to learn what they're going to learn in school, but also now in school, a kid fucks up, you pass them anyway. Why? That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like your kid fails everything, all the other children busted their ass, did everything they could to pass, got really good marks. And the stupid, and I'm going to say stupid, yeah, because if you're not studying, if you're not doing now, if you're slow and there's some mental issues that are out of your control, then okay, you're not stupid. There's just other things at play that have to be addressed. But if you're an average kid with absolutely nothing wrong with you, then, and you don't want these things, you're stupid. You know how I know? Because I was that kid in high school. I didn't go to school. I dropped out, and I was still a student there. I was still registered as a student for 5 years instead of 4 because I just didn't go to class. And then when that 4th year, when most people are graduating, I was still registered as a student. So I just went back the next year, but still never went. And it was after that point where I just, my dad just said, just quit. Like, what are you doing? You're like 19, and I was still in school, but I wasn't in school. I was just registered to go to school. But that's all I know, because I was one of these kids that just didn't want to go to school because I was stupid. Not dumb, but like just my logic was, I just don't want to do it. And then later in life, I regretted it. That's why I worked in kitchens for 30 years. I made a good living out of it, and I was very good at it. But I didn't have the skills and the knowledge to do anything else. And I don't want to see like my nephews and other kids growing up doing that because they don't know how to do anything else. So they just fall into one thing and they get stuck with it. Take the damn tablet away from the kids. I know it sounds stupid. Take the tablet away from them, take them to the park, give them some toys and let them play. Let them be children. Like my nephew was watching, I was there 3 hours, and for 3 hours straight, he was in the other room, and all I could hear was watching YouTube reels, 30-second reels, 1 minute, 2 minute reels, whatever, for 3 hours straight. And I came in, at first I sounded like he was watching The Simpsons at one point because it was a Simpsons clip. So I come in, I go, oh, you're watching The Simpsons? No, I'm just watching reels. I'm just, why don't you actually watch The Simpsons? So, no, this is fine. And then there was clips from movies. I go, why don't you watch a movie? And a girl on the bus, there's these 2 girls in the bus, probably about 13 years old, young girls, not a whole lot older than him in perspective, but they basically said the same thing he said. Well, the one girl did. And I wasn't listening in on them per se, but they were sitting beside me so I could hear what they were saying. And as soon as someone mentioned something about movies, my ears perk up because I love movies. Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Star Wars. But I love movies. So as soon as I hear someone talk about movies, I just sort of instinctively listen in, like, oh, what are they talking about? I hear a movie they're talking about. But I asked my nephew, I was like, why don't you watch a movie? He's like, no, I don't want to watch a movie. Why not? They're too long. Like, you're sitting here watching TV. Like, you're just staring at the TV watching 30-second reels. Why don't you watch something with a story, something to get your mind going, something that has some sort of adventure, something, a cartoon movie. It doesn't have to be like some dramatic, like, adult type of film. I don't mean adult film, but you know what I mean. Like, but these girls that were sitting beside me, one girl said something about, she was talking about a movie, and she goes, "Oh, have you seen it?" And the other girl goes, "No, I don't watch movies." And she's like, "You don't watch movies?" She goes, "No, they're too long. Who has time for that?" And I'm like, "What?" And then they sort of carried on with their conversation. And wasn't really listening, but I wasn't not listening, because I was just kind of wanted to hear what they were having to say. And then they're talking about whatever boys. I don't know what the hell they were talking about at one point. And then she goes, "So what are you doing today?" "Oh, I'm just gonna watch you. I'm just gonna watch TikToks. Probably just watch some TikToks for a while and then go to bed, or whatever." And then I'm like, "So you won't watch a movie, but you'll sit around and watch TikToks for 2 hours? Where is your brain?" like I know this is just a rant, and there are people going to say, "Well, just because that's not for you doesn't mean it's not for them." And I'm not just talking about the whole TikTok things. I'm talking about development as children. Like, there's no attention span anymore. Everybody wants is entitled. "Oh, I didn't win, but I get a trophy anyway. Well, then why did I try? You know, I didn't pass, but you're going to pass me anyway. Well, why did I study?" It's like I sort of had the same mentality when I eventually dropped out of school. I went and got my GED, and I'm like, wait, I could just do this test and get my diploma? Then why did I go to school at all? Um, because that's where that's development skills. That's where you meet your friendship, get your friendships. That's where you just sort of you start getting into music. You start getting, you make friends. You do. That's why. And you do learn more than you do on a basic GED. GED is just the most basic thing you can get, which is what I got, and works for me because I didn't really go on to achieve greatness in my life in terms of careers and that sort of thing. But I don't know. I'm not concerned about me because I'm old, and because of my wife, thankfully she was smart. When I was 18 years old, when we got together, she got me into my RSPs. So we've been doing RSPs since we were teenagers, and we actually put in decent amounts. So we're doing pretty good. We're going to be fine. We're comfortable. I got lucky because I met the right woman, and she's amazing, and you know, leave it at that. But a lot of these other kids, they don't care. The future is too far away to worry about. So, and then looking back as adults, looking at their childhood years, I got stories, and I'm actually going to do a video about it. Another funny or effed up things about my life video, talking about all the shenanigans and shit I got into before I was a teenager, like just pre-teen shenanigans stuff. Actually, that's probably what I'll call it. But I got so many stories. They don't have any stories. What did you do? I don't know. I watch TikTok all day. Like, where's the story? Where's we broke into this. So I remember I got into a fight with this kid. Oh, we went garden raiding. We did all these other fun adventure stuff. We went into the forest. We did all kinds of crazy, crazy things. And they won't have those stories. When they look back, they're not going to have any memories. They're just, all they did is this all day. Next video. Next video. Like, don't get me wrong, I do watch TikTok videos usually just before I go to bed, or the last 5 minutes of my bus ride, just to fill that space, just something to do. But I'd rather watch a movie, a TV show, something with a story, something going on. So anyway, yeah, it was a rant, and it was intended to be a rant. And I know these are the videos that sort of generate a lot of the most comments. Or that was weird, but about how wrong I am. Well, that's fine. You can have your opinion. This is a rant. It's just my opinion, and maybe I am wrong. Maybe I don't know. Maybe watching movies. Maybe I should be sitting around staring at a tablet all day doing nothing. Boom, boom. Maybe that should have been my childhood instead of going out having fun, bike riding, hitting the trails, slumber parties, sleepovers, going to people's house for dinner, hockey in the streets, baseball in the field, throwing the ball around, all that dumb stuff. Maybe that was wrong. But anyway, yeah, if you have an opinion on this in either direction, I don't really care. It's a current parent or someone my own age. Tell me what you think. Should spanking come back? I don't understand why that was ever not a thing. But should kids just be sitting around doing nothing all day? Or should they be out developing things? Should they be playing with toys? Should they be being creative? Or should they just be staring at a tablet all day? I don't know. Should they be drawing pictures, creating art? Or should they be staring at a tablet all day? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but these are my opinions. What are yours? Anyway, tell me in the comments below. If you watch this all the way, thank you. If you want to subscribe, help me get up to 1,000 subs. I'd really appreciate that, and like and all that other stuff. And until the next one.